Now let's talk about the reorientation process. It really is very important. Notice in all of the examples I've given here, I've always reoriented, and that's because this is really a safety issue. The only real risk in hypnosis, the only way for somebody to get hurt isn't something that happened because of hypnosis, but because they become disoriented, they fall, they have a hypnotic hangover, if you will. And so I don't want, just like if you're resting for a nap, you don't want to be jolted up, you feel unstable, I want my clients to have a chance to be reoriented to the room. And so I almost always begin with a physical reorientation, and after I'm done with my post-hypnotic suggestions, I'll say to them, and now pay attention to my voice, to the air in the room around you and the seat below where you sit. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. In other words, keep them closed. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. And I'm going to count from 1 to 3. And with each number, let yourself become more alert, more awake, oriented, and feeling refreshed. 1. Taking in a deep breath. 2. Stretching out any muscles that need to be stretched. And 3. Opening the eyes, feeling fantastic. That, by the way, is a direct suggestion. And so this simple process is simple, but it's important. Nobody likes to be woken up harshly with an alarm clock. Nobody likes to be woken up like that. People want to be woken up nicely, and this is a nice way of reorienting a person. Now, let's talk about what happens if they don't open their eyes, they don't reorient. Well, that means they've died during the session and they're in deep trouble. No, that's not what that means. What that means is that they probably are enjoying this state so much that they're not ready to go back to reality, to open their eyes. This does happen. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. It often happens in a first session. Because in a first session, this is the first time who somebody felt hopeless, finally feels a sense of hope. They're not ready to return yet. That can happen. In this case, I'll simply say to a person, you know, I can tell that this has been an important and meaningful session for you. I'm going to give you a few more moments to enjoy this wonderful feeling that you've created. And when you're ready, simply open the eyes, reorienting to the room. Kick back in your chair, wait 3 minutes, because in 3 or 4 minutes, they're going to open their eyes, 30 seconds, 90 seconds. It's okay to be patient with folks. Now what happens if they won't open their eye? What if they don't open their eyes? Literally 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes goes by. Well, if this is the case, again, it's because perhaps they've fallen asleep, which is unlikely. But again, they're not comfortable coming out and dealing with reality yet. This has happened 3 times in my career. By the way, only once in clinical hypnosis. And the answer is real simple. By the way, I've heard this. This is crazy. This is, in my opinion, unethical. I've heard the coma command. The hypnotist will say this: and this state I've created is such a wonderful state. If you don't open your eyes now, you'll never be able to feel that state again. Wow. That just is the antithesis of everything we've talked about in this DVD set. We don't empower the client. We've taken ownership of the change. We've demolished the success of the session with something as egregious as that. And I've actually heard a few old-time but respected hypnotists teach this, and I think it's absolute lunacy. But what I say to my client is this. I'll say, it is time to reorient. It is time to open the eyes. And we'll have time to continue to explore and continue to work on these subjects in our next session. 1, 2, 3, open the eyes. If the eyes are not open, 1 puff of air right on the eyelids. And those eyelids are going to pop right open. If not because of the air, because of the onion breath. And I've only had to do that 1 time in clinical hypnosis. And the client reoriented to the room, and in that case, the client burst into tears. Tears, by the way, of joy, because they recognize that this is the first time I've been able to get a handle on a change I've tried to make throughout my entire life. And that is a technique that can be used. The other two times were both when I was doing stage hypnosis with 15-year-old kids on after prom nights, and those kids aren't stuck in hypnosis. What they want is they want their 15 more minutes of fame, or to be the oppositional person who screws up the entertainer at 3:30 in the morning, which explains why I don't do very many after graduation night parties or stage hypnosis shows any longer. But only one time, and by the way, in clinical hypnosis, it was one of those 450-pound guys. If he doesn't lose half his body weight, he's going to die. And he had been ruled out for bariatric surgery, and he had been sitting in his trailer collecting disability, unable to function. And he made it to my office, and in that first session he just didn't want to open his eyes yet, because it felt so wonderful to finally have a sense of hope. But when I blew on his eyes, he popped them open, burst into tears with a sense of joy. Put my hand on his shoulder, let him have a moment, handed him a Kleenex, and I worked with him for a period of time, by the way, and he was one of my more successful weight loss clients. And so this is the reorientation process. And now we've actually covered all of the stages of hypnosis: assessment, pre-talk, induction, deepener, suggestive therapy, and the orientation. So now it's actually time to put the train together. It's time to go through the entire process. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a video of me going through the entire process. Although this is a short process, it's the entire process again. And this process is one that you can replicate, one that you should replicate, and one that you should practice. From start to finish, at the live workshops I do, at the end of the second day, everybody goes through this entire process with a partner. You can find a partner there in DVD land that you can practice with to guide through the entire process. You can even use one of your real clients in traditional counseling. You can say to a client who you already have an established relationship with, hey, I've been practicing self-hypnosis in my own life, and a lot of these techniques are real useful to others. And so in today's session, I'd like to spend a little bit of time and guide you through a process of hypnosis that's going to teach you new things and help you feel wonderful. Would you like that? They're going to say yes. You can guide them through that process. You have the skills and the knowledge necessary to go through this basic process. It's time to practice. After you practice that, then we're going to come back and we're going to expand on a lot of these things. Everything to this point has been a building block for everything that comes later on as well.